Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I'm making myself a 5 metre by 4 metre big shed, but unfortunately it's not for me. See you in a minute. Now this is of course the machine room that I'm building over at Menning Shed's new premises that we moved into in December/January this year, and it's having one or two knock-on effects in terms of what I get done in here. This is probably the second time that I've been in the small shed in about 2 or 3 months, so as this video progresses I'll pop in and while I'm doing some of the design work and give you a little update on where we are and what's going on with the shed here at the moment, and or what isn't, and just bring you up to date with things anyway. So let's dive in and get the design work started. Now for this one we've got to go back to our college days and get the drawing board out. This is a little job for my other distraction in the week, and that is Menning Sheds. We have moved recently, as I mentioned I think on the previous video that we did, and we want to build a small area so that we can use the machines without getting dust everywhere and keeping the noise down, all that sort of thing, because we're now in an occupied building. So I just want to put together a brief drawing of what we've got and what we'd like to do, so that the landlord or our landlord can see it before we get involved and approve or comment, whatever. It's very important. Where we were before, it didn't really matter if we got the place like a pigsty, because it was our space and we could do what we liked in it. Not that that was a reason to do that, but it did actually tend to happen a bit. But because we're now in a shared area that we are somebody else's tenant effectively, the last thing we want to do is upset them. And because they've got an existing business running in the shed, we don't want to fill it with dust, and if possible we don't want to make too much noise. So what I'm going to do is it's fairly simple. I mean, it's only a matter of drawing a couple of rectangles really. So I just want to get it drawn out, and that will serve a couple of purposes. Firstly, as I say, it'll demonstrate to them what we intend to do or what we'd like to do for comment, which I don't think there'll be any problem with. They really are incredibly laid back and helpful people. But the second thing is, it will enable me to get some idea of what materials we're going to need to build this unit with. We've got the facility to get 4x4 or 4x4.5 timbers for nothing, which we want to call upon, and we'll probably cut some of those down. What I'm thinking is that I may well go for a scheme very much the same as I did for here, of building panels either 8x8 or 4x8, bolt them together with stainless steel screws and inserts, so that if we ever have to move we could just unbolt the thing and take it apart that way. And again, I need the scale just so that I can get a rough idea of how many panels, how big, all that sort of thing. and we've also got to get some joists across the top, because they're 8-foot lengths we get, and our room is likely to be more than that. I've got to get some proper joists externally. We've got to buy those, I think, or find a sponsor for them. So we'll try and do that, and hopefully that will keep the costs down. Obviously we're trying to spend as little as possible on this. Money is always tight. But that's the aim of this exercise. So I'm just going to get roughly set out what we want to do, sketch it up, and we'll have a look at it when we've got somewhere. Okay, so as I said, this is a bit of an update on what's going on in small shed land as opposed to big shed land, and of course big shed land has had a fairly catastrophic effect on what's going on here, because I've just not had any time to do anything since mid June. I don't even know what month it is, January, and I've been down at the shed probably on average 3 days a week. As a matter of interest, the last fortnight, if I go back through that, Monday I supervised at the shed, Tuesday I was gardening, and I'll explain why we're doing that. Wednesday I was back at the shed, Friday I was back at the shed all day, Saturday afternoon I spent machining steps up for the staircase in the shed here. Sunday afternoon I spent doing the expenses for the shed, the end of month, cashing up and that, and I think I spent the evening doing my expenses for all the stuff that I'm buying for it. This Monday past, I went in and again supervised at the shed. I was going to have Tuesday off, but then I got a phone call at 8:45 on Tuesday saying the supervisor wasn't coming in that day, so I've gone in on Tuesday. I went in Thursday, I went in Friday, so this is where we are today. So it's pretty hectic, and what it means is that there's just no spare time. Now, compounding that, we may well remember that my wife had a fall in October, and that's come up with one or two nasties in the medium term anyway. We had a phone call about a month after she'd had her x-rays and meetings with the doctor, when she had the initial fall and went to A&E, and they said, "We think you've got an infection in your lung." They'd looked at the x-rays and prescribed some antibiotics. That would have been, I think, early January. But then she went for her routine 6-monthly scan that she has to have. She has a CT scan as opposed to an x-ray. And again, about a fortnight after that, we got the dreaded phone call saying, "We'd like you to go back for an MRI scan because we think there's a problem with your spine." And we were a bit worried about that, as to whether it was a cancer coming back or something. But she went and had this x-ray, this MRI scan, and it's confirmed that what's happened is, when she had the fall in October, it's actually cracked a vertebrae in her spine and broken across that and caused it to sort of collapse up, and it's now healing. But that explains quite a lot, because where it is, I think it's T4 and T5 or something down in the middle of your back, is more or less where all the nerves are coming out. Feel like you're breathing, and your chest, all that sort of problem, which is where she's been having quite a lot of problem over the past. And it's healing up. If you look it up on Wikipedia or whatever, NHS websites, I think they say it takes about 4 or 5 months to heal, and that's probably about where we are. So she's getting a lot better from that. But again, out of that has come the fact that they think it may well have been partly down to osteoporosis, which is bones going a bit like aero bars, a bit crumbly. And so she's having to just go and get medication and that sorted for that at the moment. But one of the things they've said at that stage is don't get doing any things like heavy lifting and that sort of thing, and digging gardens. Well, of course, that's what she's been doing normally. So what's that's meant is that I've got a bit more of an extra job, if you like, now. So for the past few weeks, probably a couple of weeks, we've had some quite nice weather. So of course, any time that's been half decent, I've been out in the garden as well. So whilst it's not, you know, it's not a bleat, it's not a problem, but that's why I'm not getting anything done again. So whereas I started the year in April, pretty much I'd got content through to April at the beginning of the year, pretty much buttoned up, and I'm now getting to mid-March, and really I've done absolutely nothing that's content worthy in that period, other than over at Menin Sheds. There's a couple of things I've got that may well come out of things. So this is another sort of forewarning, if you like, really. It's possible that things might get a bit bumpy every now and again over the next few weeks, but again, it like before, it's not lack of interest or anything, it's just that there's so many other things going on. The machine room at the shed has turned into probably more of a project than I thought it would be, partly caused by my own pig-headedness, because I'm trying to do as much of it on my own as I can rather than getting anybody to help me, which is my fault rather than anything else. But I know how I want it done in my head, and sometimes it takes longer to explain and it still doesn't get done right. So perhaps taking up a bit of time. We're getting there now. I think by the end of March we'll have that done and I can get back on into normal sort of working. But again, obviously there's going to be a backlog there, but that's where we are. Still working, but I'm doing, as I say, 3 days a week at least, down at Menin Sheds rather than anything else. There are some videos coming up of the build, but again, partly because the lighting conditions early on were pretty poor, and the quality therefore is pretty awful, and because I was doing stuff rather than producing videos, I didn't really feel I'd got the time to start messing around setting cameras up and things like that. So it's pretty sparse for a bit, so we'll probably get a couple of weeks out of that anyway. We'll see how we go. And I say there are one or two things in the pipeline, but by and large it's all a bit thin at the moment. But let's get back into the video, see how we're getting on with the actual design of this machine room back in January, which will hopefully catch up during the next few weeks, and you'll see where we're up to. Hopefully by the end of March we've set up a date for an opening ceremony, so I've got to get it done in the next couple of weeks. We'll see how we get on then, but we'll dive back into the design. I'm sure everybody would do this in CAD nowadays, but I'm too old and haven't got the time to start and learn to do all that. It's got the rough layout done. I'll wait for that to just dry off the ink, and then we'll put the actual detail in of the bit we propose to do. Label it up a bit, and then maybe we'll go up in the car and have a look at the site and sort of explain what we're intending to do to you. At the moment we've got two areas. We've got a main work area, which is what we'll be using with all the benches and some of the tools, some of the machinery in there, but this was originally a storage area. This is 5 meters by 4 roughly, and the first thing we did when we loaded up from moving the stuff from the shed was to fill that up so that we couldn't actually move, and then we filled up the overspill into the main area so that we couldn't move in there either, and that almost gave us a log jam. We've solved that in the short term by getting a container at the farm on a short-term rental, and moved a lot of the timber and that out until we get a little bit straighter, So we've now got a bit of floor space, as hopefully you'll see when we go up to the farm and have a look at that. But what we want to do is effectively put a doorway through there and make a workshop in about 2/3 of that space, and we'll do the same as we did over the mezzanine floor over the kitchen at the old place. We'll put a floor in above it, deck it out with reasonably substantial floor joists, so that we can actually still use that as a storage area, but it'll be 8 feet in the air. We would like probably to put a staircase in, because it's not very safe to be working off ladders to get up and down places like that, so we'll see about that. We're also looking at dust extraction, and one of the thoughts is that we'll put another similar sort of small room in that corner for the lathes, and we can put a plant above that with a fairly large bit of kit on it to do most of the dust extraction, because that's really the whole point of what we're doing, really, is to keep the dust under control as well as the noise, and so that we don't cause a problem to the guys who are already there. But I'll just label this up, mark up what we're proposing to do on here, hatch it in, and then, as I say, we'll hop in the car and go up and have a look at it. I've just done a quick cross section through the building as well, through the proposed walls. As I say, basically it's 4x4s top and bottom, and a mixture of 4x4s and 4x2s supporting with fairly hefty joists as well, so when we start and load it out with timber on top, we won't have it all fall in on our heads. So up at the farm, first thing I noticed when I got out the car was that there was a whole load of insulation stacked up against the side of one of the other units that is used by a builder. So I thought I'd wander over and have a chat with him, and sure enough that was out for being thrown away, and we've managed to scrounge it. So at least we'll have something for the roof area and some of the walls too. This is heat insulation, which we don't really need, but we were going to put something in to try and kill the noise a bit, so this will be useful for that. In the main area of the shed where we are, next to the other builders' little area, this is our main area, and as you can see it's just full to the brim with rubbish at the moment, all the stuff that's come out of the old shed that we haven't yet moved. So we've got to clear all that area out, and that will form the new machine room itself, and you can see we've got a bit of a job on our hands as to where we're going to put all that stuff, particularly as the main area is full. We've also managed to start and secure some of the timbering that we need, 3x3s, 4x3s, 4x4s. That's been brought in the cars, so we're ready to start with a flying start as soon as we can get this area cleared. Right, so we've got the machine room designed, and I can say with 6-7 weeks on from that time that by and large it's working quite well. We're almost there. It's looking as if it's going to be a good facility for us, and it's looking pretty promising. So hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to seeing you next time. Hopefully it will be something different, but I can't promise it. See you then. Bye.